Soil on Karma Radio. Hey, we're gonna forego the top of the hour news because my special guest is in.
Good
Chris,
morning, Seth.
How you doing? It's Chris Olathia from the band Olathia.
I am excellent. How are you this metal morning?
I am good, actually. Feeling for a gloomy thunderstorm-like day. I am actually fantastic.
That's good to hear.
All right.
And I got to say, your show is kicking ass. That is the way to get the day started. Crank at the tunes, man.
Thank you very much. Hey, before we get going, I want to tell you, your band was Underground Band of the Week last week.
Thank you, man. We appreciate that.
Yeah, and when I play some of those songs, it's new stuff. Some people aren't, sure about it, or they don't say much about it. When I played your single, Hellbound, yesterday, is that correct? Hellbound's what it's called?
Hellhound.
Hellhound, sorry, that's what I meant. I wish I could have seen the listener's face, because it sounded like from the reviews in the response I got, their jaws about hit the ground. It was just fantastic, and people were digging it. And I played another song or two last week. I forget which ones, but the response was great, and I'm hoping to help get your name out there.
Oh, dude, thank you so much. And that song really does slay, and even live, people go crazy, and we have a good time with that for sure. That's what it's about, man. Connecting, getting the energy out, and playing the metal.
Excellent. So, tell me more about the band. How did that start?
The band, we're certainly still some new blood around the area here. We put out our full-length album in mid-2015, so it's just a little over a year old. And we're actually starting work on the follow-up, which will be out in 2017.
Nice.
And before that, we kind of got together the end of 2014. Jeff Marlowe, the drummer, and myself, we met. We wanted to talk about a project, and man, him and I just had the same fire and blood and wanting to do this melodic, thrashy, dynamic metal project.
Oh, yeah.
And we thought, there's such good talent in Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland and Akron is such a metal community.
It is.
And yeah, it really is. I mean, we're kind of like the Nashville of metal up here. We really are, and it's getting better all the time. And the resources and the studios and the people coming in and what you can do from here. And so Jeff and I started looking for some people, and Jake Nicholson, who is a lead guitarist and solo extraordinaire, joined shortly after, and I had known him from his previous band, Black Valor. I used to be in a band called Cellbound that was around for quite a long time, and we toured regionally. And man, I remember when we first played a show together, my jaw dropped watching this dude, and I was super stoked that our paths connected again. And once the three of us started writing, we were like, oh yeah, we got the nucleus, we got the core here. And Jake's style automatically lends itself to two guitars just shredding your face off. So we found this guy, Steve Albenzi, who was originally from Columbus, and I actually knew him from that area too when we had played down there. And he had moved up here and came out and jammed, and, with him and Jake, it's like brothers from another mother,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
It just rounded everything out. We got bass in place and just really started writing and hitting it hard. And really just great dudes, really good chemistry, and the songwriting it's still growing. We're still kind of figuring out who we are and what we're doing, and it's really going to be interesting this next album when it's coming out. And it's just fun to play the metal and don't put yourself in a box and just write stuff and have a good time with it.
Look forward to that. Yeah, you brought up the chemistry, and that was because I listened to a lot of bands. I've seen a lot of bands locally in the area either break down, destroy themselves, or even if they don't hit it big, really, you can tell they click. And that was the first thing that stuck out before I named you guys Underground Band of the Week. I was listening to some music. I was like, these guys connect. This is like right on it together. And that's something special. I mean, I envy that. Let's put it that way.
well, I appreciate that. And man, we really do feel it too. And, it's connecting musically, but also personality-wise too, because we can tell each other, just swear at someone and have a good time with each other and joke around, but also push each other to, try other stuff or really to critique and edit, because that's a lot to songwriting, to being really honest with yourself and making sure you're trimming the fat and trying to make something that's really got a groove and can go somewhere.
Definitely. So it sounds like you've been at this for a while then, as far as being part of a band, not just a fan of the music and playing it. Like
Always. I've always been in a band. Whether it was a cover band or whatever I was doing, original material is absolutely where my heart lies and where I love. So it's fun to get in depth with it, and really try to get what's in your heart out there.
Excellent. So have you guys, if you don't mind me asking, I like these weird questions, have you picked out a producer yet for that new album? Or?
We actually do have a couple things in the works. It's a little too early in the stages to kind of say which direction we're totally going.
Yeah.
But we do have some things locally and not locally that we're looking at doing.
Okay, excellent. Well, what's going on with the band till that you hit the studio? Like any shows or anything you want to promote right now?
Yeah, next weekend, Saturday, October 8th, we're going to be at this really sweet club in Brunswick, Ohio, called Club 4280.
Okay.
And real sweet setup there because, there's a lot of great clubs that really do things well as far as lighting and sound to make it a concert experience. There's a place in Akron not too far from you in Kent called the Empire that just blows the roof off of things. It's amazing what they do. And this place, does the same thing where they got the whole light set up, proper sound and great people taking care of you at the bar and food. So we're going to be there next Saturday, October 8th. We're also playing with Julia Roberts, Global Warning, Downspeed, and Day Old Hate. And
say Julia Roberts?
Julia Roberts, yeah. She's a female guitarist and singer in a three-piece that's a real fun, straight-up rock band.
But not the actress.
Correct.
Okay.
But she shares the same name.
I have to clarify that because, believe it or not, in Kent, we've had a couple celebrity with their... I'm not going to lie, they're terrible bands. Like, Kevin Bacon was here recently.
Oh,
and
gotcha.
We're going to have Rainn Wilson, I think her name is. Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis's daughter. Her band's going to be down here. So I just want to get that right. Like, okay, is this really Julie?
I hear you. Yeah. No, she's her own Julia. So,
okay. Very nice,
yeah.
though.
And then we've got a couple shows at the Agora in November. On November 20th, we're going to be playing with Leaves' Eyes.
Oh!
Then, yeah.
That's a big show.
It is. And then January 11th, we'll be doing the Udo Dirkschneider show, where he's playing his whole Accept catalog, and people are just so stoked about that show. And there's also something coming up in December, but it has not been announced yet, so you just got to keep your eye on the page, but it's a real special event that'll be coming up in December. And that's what we got on the books, because, we're writing right now, and we're doing the pre-production, and we'll be rolling in the studio soon, so we got some time focused on that.
Excellent. So it sounds like you got your work cut out for you for the rest of the year, at least.
Well, I don't know if it's cut out, but we got work to do.
Yeah. But still, but the Agora, been to a bunch of shows recently, and they've really been a help to local bands around there, putting on some big shows and having them put in. Actually, there's a big show coming up where local bands will be able to thrive also and get their name out there, and it's a big deal. I don't know if you've ever heard of Summer Slaughter.
Oh, yeah.
The one, not this past year, but, this year too, but the one before that with Arch Enemy headlining. There was a band that got on stage, the small stage, and they get on there, they set up, and they turned around, look at the crowd, and the guy about shat himself. And he goes, "We have a crowd?" He didn't know how to take it. It was cool at the same time, because it's like, these guys were willing to come in early, give them a chance, drink some beers, and, like, until the bigger bands started playing, and it's always a good time. So Agora's really been a big help to the local scene, and I know Cleveland, like you said, you hit the nail on the head. I've been trying to preach that to people. It's still the rock city. It's still the rock capital. No matter how you feel about who the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has inducted the past couple of years or not, the town still screams it, and that's why. And I give praise to the Agora because they usually are the ones that bring the bigger, or I should say, more underground metal acts in, because they're telling them, look, you're going to have a crowd if you show up here. I don't know how the booking works exactly, but it just seems that way. Like,
they really are helpful and friendly to local bands for sure, and there's other places too. we did a show with John Five at the Beachland Ballroom.
Oh, yeah.
That was just amazing. Metal's not always what they get there, but when they get metal, they do it right. And more like you said, they're always giving opportunities to local bands. And that's interesting too, because sometimes I'll hear the flip side that people are like, "Oh, I don't want to go to this show. They got like 10 local bands or whatever, blah blah blah,
Really?
too much." But they really don't do that. Like this Leaves Eyes show. It's Leaves Eyes and Omnium Gathering, 2 locals.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a 4-band bill. It's going to be solid. They're, gauging the bands too with the headliners to make it a great experience for the crowd because they want to put quality acts in front of them too.
Exactly.
But at the same token, understanding that people are honing their craft and working hard and giving them an opportunity to take it to that next level, which is amazing. It's really great. And like you have the Empire, to talk about that place again in Akron.
Yeah.
Stitched Up Heart was there not too long ago. I think they're on Century Media. They're touring all over the place. How cool did you get to see a bigger band like that in a smaller venue? And same thing, they're putting a couple great locals on those shows as well.
Have you ever, I'm going to ask this because it's down the street from me, the Outpost in Kent, have you ever played there yet?
Yeah, we have. When we first started out, we did a show there with Mushroom Head. That was crazy fun, and they had the 2 stages going, the back and the front. I haven't been there in a while playing because we've just had other things on our schedule, but the Outpost is a good time. It's been there a long time, that place.
Yeah, they've worked out with somebody, and you were talking about the smaller venue, bigger acts. And it's the same thing. There's a show coming up in November, and the Outpost of all places, Soilwork headlining, Battlecross, Unearth, and Woven were basically As They Dine Without Tim, all going to be there.
Wow.
Yeah, and I saw Mushroom Head there. Reese Black Dahlia Murder was there. I mean, that's the nice thing is now these small venues are getting hit up, and it's easier on the Akron area people too, because it's like, oh, we could just hit up that place and see a good show for a good price too. And
absolutely.
Hopefully they get a good crowd. I saw recently. Do you remember Soil? That was the band we were playing before I put you on.
Yeah, I remember Soil.
They were there recently, and I like Soil. I got into them actually in my early college days, and there was probably 30 people, and I felt bad because I was like, these guys deserve more, And they actually started late, so they had to end early. So, but they played the songs I wanted to, so I couldn't complain. But
nice.
you get I was just giving an example there of the bigger bands, smaller venues. I wanted to ask you a quick question here. We had a tough question the other day. Are you familiar with the thrash band Destruction?
I know the name. I've heard the name, and I know like there's a local band, Destructor. But this is Destruction. Yeah.
The lead singer asked a very good question. I want to have your input because you're a singer. You've been in the local scene for a while. You're a fan too. You scream metal, and I love that. But
nice.
This guy made a comment. He said, "Where is the pride?" And he used another word. Basically, where is the people waving the rock flag these days? Like, in this day of age, where do you see the rock and roll attitude, basically?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, I see it all the time. But what we want to do is we want to go to those people too. You gotta, as a band too, you need to travel, you need to get out there, and you need to find the people too. Everybody's out there working hard, doing their day jobs and stuff. So, you need to go to them too and find those people. But they are out there, and once you can find them, and if you guys connect, man, life is beautiful, and it's like we're loyal friends till the end.
Excellent, yes.
And there's a lot of people who are diehards. I mean, I'm a Cleveland homegrown girl. Cleveland is in my blood. And this town, and I think a lot of it had to do with all the metal college radios we've had for many years and still have. And now we have internet radio with programs like yours. Yeah. That all reaches the people, exactly. And it's amazing because you're giving them an outlet that's non-commercial, which is rock and roll,
Yeah.
You're not the one that's going to be, on the Toyota ad or whatever it is. You don't want to be, And that's okay because we're about the realness, the nitty-gritty, the helping each other when you need a hand.
Excellent.
And there's people out there, it's pretty amazing. And, like, when we do go on the road, and being from Cleveland, it's amazing where you can reach doing your weekend warriors. You know how you can go up to Detroit and Chicago, and then you're hitting New York and PA, and then going down south West Virginia and those places. You really can reach a lot in a reasonable amount of time. And the people that have messaged us, or we go to a venue, somebody's got food there, they do that. Those are people waving the metal flag and supporting it. And we just played this show at a place called Venue 18 in Fostoria, Ohio.
Never heard
which
of it.
is, yeah, it's a little town, blink of an eye, little college there, a little bit outside of Toledo.
Okay.
Holy crap, Seth. This venue, there's probably 150 people that came to the show. There were 4 bands on the bill. Only one band was local. Everyone else was, like we drove 2 hours, I think, to get there, a couple hours away. But this promoter, Jeremy Schindorf with NWO Metal Militia, he has this site where, I guess I got to tell you a little bit about him to tell you about this Venue 18. Jeremy Schindorf is this person who's waving the flag, the metalhead, loves the underground. He's like, it's such a value. You can see these bands. It's great to see the Nationals, and a lot of these bands have gotten their influence from it, but it's kind of like going to watch the high school football. You see that heart and soul right there on the field, And this guy last year traveled and probably went to almost 200 shows in 1 year, maybe even more. And what he did at each show was he posted videos, talked about the band, did interviews, and he's got this site called NWO Metal Militia, where he connects people to all these bands in Ohio and Michigan, and now he's booking these shows at this Venue 18, and he's able to pull people together with what he's doing and what he's showing them in such an amazing way. So you talk about someone waving the metal flag, you got it right there. And those people are out there. If you got that spirit and you're doing the work on your end, you're going to find them on their end.
That's a great way to look at it. I wouldn't have told you had a bad answer either way, but that's a fantastic answer. The way to look at that makes actually me feel better about the whole situation. Let me reinstate what I said. There was no bad answer to that. We'll put it that way. I sounded a little cheesy there, but besides that point, from coming from a person that's been performing around some big names in the business before and in the area, that's a great way to look at it. And I understand where the guy's coming from. I think maybe he's looking at it maybe in a mainstream sense, because think about the Steven Tylers and the Freddie Mercury's and all that bled rock and roll, and the mainstream success hit. But it's not about mainstream anymore, especially in the streaming world now these days and all that. It's actually, that benefits the bands because it gets your name out there a little bit more, because you got a Facebook page or whatnot.
It does benefit the other underground bands tremendously. And it's cool too, because sometimes somebody can't get out, so you can give them an experience through the internet or a live feed or something. So that's cool. But what's interesting is I love Europe, and there's so many cool things there, and I hope to play there someday. But it's great how we're seeing more of these festivals in the States. We just had Chicago Open Air. There's the festival going to be going on this weekend down in Kentucky. And, there's just been a lot of tremendous things, and there's smaller ones, too. There's a Ragnarocker in Chicago that's amazing. And, so there's a lot of stuff out there. It's just not like Europe. We can't just take a train. Sometimes you got to travel a little more to get to them here,
Been to Rock on the Range ever?
You know what? I have not had that experience yet. Usually we got a show or something else going on, but hopefully next year I'll be able to hit that, because I hear it's such a good time.
I went for the first time in my life this past May. One day, it was Rob Zombie, Lamb of God, Five Finger Death Punch, a couple others, and I tell you, everything you hear is true. The fans getting together, all from different areas. It was mostly Ohio and Michigan, but just it's amazing just seeing that whole crowd get together and having a good time. Not a lot of bad things. How I was reading on our rock news recently about the Ozfest meets Knotfest that happened last week in a huge festival in California, and all the arrests were made because people can't handle their alcohol. But no, we didn't really see a lot of that, at least around me, and I was around a lot of people too. But yeah, it's a great time. And I've been thinking. I was talking to a guy from Cleveland, and I was like, why can't they use Cleveland Brown Stadium for that kind of thing? You know, like have our own Vakken in Cleveland. Just
that would be amazing. Maybe someday.
Yeah. Well, they need a. You know what? And somebody made a good point. I was actually talking to a metal journalist at last Summer Slaughter, and he said, you know what? They don't have the parking or space for something like that over near First Energy. They said you need a lot more. And back in Cruise Stadium and for the I just at Rock on the Range, they have a lot of parking. It's because it's not in downtown Columbus. It's just outside. It's right outside there where First Energy's right there. So it's a thought. You know what? I say let's get the Rubber Bowl back up and running. We'll do it there.
That was a good place. That was a real good place.
That was. We got a question of the week on this show, and I wanted to ask you, just get curiosity. Our classic album of the week was Ascendancies from Trivium, because that's what I grew up with in high school. So what were a couple of your favorite albums in high school? You used to sit there, listen to vinyl or CD. You used to play all the time.
Oh, man, without a doubt, anything by Deep Purple. I loved Deep Purple, and I still do. And I still crank that a lot. And Metallica, Master of Puppets, I don't think that ever left my headphones.
Classic album of the week last week when you were Underground Band of the Week.
What was that, Seth?
That was our classic album of the week when you guys were Underground Band.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. But yeah, Metallica is, definitely something that I cut my teeth on and always, just dug those guys, and I'm pretty stoked about the new music that I'm hearing from them right now.
You know what? Those two songs, because I'm one of those Metallica fans. I still like them. I've liked even I can tolerate Saint Anger. I'll be honest. It's not the greatest thing they've ever put out, obviously, but I've always been kind of critical of certain things with them. I guess don't get me wrong. I love the band, but the two songs they've released have been off the charts, I've been so impressed. I am pumped too. It's like this is a double album coming out. They got my attention and money right now. So
yeah, same here. Yeah, it's exciting stuff, man.
Definitely. Any more albums you want to bring up to that while you were in high school? You got Deep Purple, Metallica.
Deep Purple and Metallica were awesome, and I was always a huge Anthrax fan.
Oh, yeah.
And Armored Saint and Death Angel. Oh, I love those. But any of that California thrash just always got me going.
Fantastic.
And when John Bush joined Anthrax, that era right there for me, in the late 80s, early 90s, I was like, whoa, get out. It was just insane.
John Bush fan here.
Yeah, very much so.
I liked him too, but Baldona's my boy. I just like watching him live. I saw him a couple weeks ago, and he did his thing bouncing around the stage, and he did one of my favorite things he does is he'll sniff out the marijuana smoker, and he'll start asking for a hit right there. He does it every time I've seen him. Every time.
Great, Dude, I just saw him sing the national anthem. I saw that video. He killed it. It was great.
Yeah, it's great when they bring somebody in like that, or when Metallica plays it in San Francisco.
Yeah,
and they just change it up for once. Just let metal do the anthem. We won't Jimi Hendrix it every time, I promise. But
we'll give it a life, though, for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Anything else on your end, Chris?
No, I appreciate, you having me on, Seth, and thanks for cranking the tunes and supporting all the bands that you do. That's really killer of you. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. And you, by the way, you were listened to not just in Northeast Ohio. We got listeners from Canada and New Jersey and New York that are consistently listening to this show every morning. So
Seth's Metal Morning Show. Excellent.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah, so Olathia's name got their name out there on the east side there, so it wasn't just Kent, Ohio. So I just want to give you a heads up and tell you how good of an opportunity this was and how much of an honor it was to play your stuff and taking advantage of this. You know how many people I've reached out to saying, you could do a free interview if you wanted to. I'm not going to charge you or do, anything. And they don't take advantage of it.
why would you not want to talk metal with a dude who's promoting metal? That's like a natural fit. What a great conversation. You know what I mean?
I know. It makes me... No, you know what? It might be the time. I'm being honest. 6 to 9 a.m. is not very sexy.
Coffee does wonders, man.
it does, but yeah. Yeah, it's a work in progress. Karma's gone a long way, and that's Karma's attitude, by the way. I know you're probably not too familiar with us, but it was not to bring the best talk, uncensored talk. You know, FCC can't grab us by the balls here.
Right.
But it was to bring back the old school DJ attitude. Like, we're gonna play the underground, we're gonna play the locals, we're gonna be your best buddy. Like, we're not gonna play Sweet Child Mine or Crazy Train 20 times a day, or wear out that one hit and play 20 commercials. This is consistent rock and roll throughout 24/7, and it was a blessing to be here in the morning and promote stuff like you, and stuff like Opeth tomorrow has a new album, so I get to do that. How many stations are going to play Opeth tomorrow morning? So
that's pretty killer, man.
Yeah,
that is way killer. That is way killer. Well, Seth, I'm going to send you that NWO Metal Militia link to check out with my friend Jeremy, because you're going to find a lot of other cool bands that I bet you're going to dig. And thank you again for playing and promoting Olathia, man. I so appreciate it.
Thank you for sending me the album. I'll listen to the rest of it. I haven't listened to all of it, to be honest, but I really like it.
And I'll make sure when the new one's finished that I get it over to you next year.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely send me all that. Just hit me up anytime you need anything, okay?
Thank you, Seth. I will, man. And hey, to all your listeners out there, crank it up, always, Karma Radio. Ow!
Hell yeah. All right, take care, Chris. Have a great day.
You too, Seth. Thank you so much, man. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye. Chris Olathia, singer of Olathia here. It is 8:28 a.m. What a fantastic, fun interview. And yes, if you have a local band and you were just listening and you want to be part of this, if you're hard rock and heavy metal, I should say, you are way, way more than welcome to come on the show, either in person or call in. I won't charge you anything. I won't treat you any different than I've treated Chris or Jim Florentine or anybody that I've had on. This is to promote the best freaking music that ever hit the planet. And if you got some good tunes, I want to hear it. And you know what? You don't even have to be local. You know, if you're listening right now and you have a band in Arizona, hit me up. That's it. Like, we're trying to get something cool going here, man. Join in the fun. Speaking of fun, in Cleveland, come on, computer's gotta work. Okay, I had a request for 9 Inch Nails. We're going back to Rockets. Stan Pye's gonna be here in about 20 minutes. 330-673-2428.
I'm drunk, and right now I'm so in love with you. And I don't want to think too much about what we should or shouldn't do.